My beloved child, tonight the veil between the seen and unseen is thinner than breath, and Archangel Michael has pressed urgently into my spirit to tell you something rare, something that only a few hearts will ever recognize. This Christmas Eve is not like any other before it. A rare energy shift is moving toward you, quiet, intentional, precise. It is the kind of shift that arrives only when heaven decides a soul has endured enough and is ready to rise into a new destiny. And Michael says your name has been marked in that light. He whispers, tell them they have felt the trembling before the transformation. Tell them I have watched their tears fall like seeds into the ground, and now the harvest is reaching for them. Child, what you are about to sense in the coming hours is not imagination. It is not coincidence. It is not holiday emotion. It is a divine signal, one that follows you because you were chosen to receive what others were too distracted to see. But here is the part that will shake your spirit. Michael reveals that this energy shift does not come gently. It arrives like a quiet warrior, brushing against your atmosphere, reorganizing what has been scattered, pulling away what has drained you, and drawing toward you the blessing that has been hovering just outside your reach. You may feel chills. You may sense a sudden awareness. You may feel a moment of peace that breaks through your chaos without warning. These are not random. These are signatures of a heavenly presence aligning your path. And tonight, as Christmas Eve settles over the earth, Archangel Michael says your spirit will notice a sign that your season has turned. A sign that the old weight will no longer sit on your shoulders the same way. A sign that your prayers, yes, the ones you whispered when no one saw you, have been carried upward and answered with a timing only angels understand. Michael has been standing guard over your threshold, protecting your home, protecting your sleep, protecting the fragile parts of your heart that you rarely show anyone. He says this blessing is rare because it does not come to everyone. It comes to those who have survived storms that should have broken them. It comes to those who kept faith alive even when hope felt thin. It comes to those who were faithful in private moments when the world offered no applause. My beloved child, that is you. And this is why heaven is moving. But listen carefully, Michael says most people will miss this shift because it does not arrive with noise. It arrives in stillness. They will overlook it, scroll past it, rush through it. But not you, because your spirit hath been waiting for this alignment longer than you even realized. Your soul remembers promises your mind forgot. And tonight, for the first time in a long time, those forgotten promises are waking up. Now hear this. As the rare energy shift approaches, you may notice a sudden clarity about something that once confused you. A relationship, a pattern, a dream, a fear, something will suddenly make sense. That clarity is the first doorway. Do not ignore it. Michael says that inside is heaven telling you, you are ready. Heat is moving obstacles out of your way, sweeping away the lingering fog, sharpening your inner knowing so the blessing can find you without delay. There is a stirring happening in the unseen realm right now, and Archangel Michael is not just delivering this message, he is guarding the blessing that follows it. He stands over it with his sword of light, ensuring no force of confusion, fear, or spiritual interference can touch what God has prepared for you. You are stepping into a moment ordained, protected, and divinely timed. And child, listen closely to this next whisper. Michael says the rare shift carries one more thing, a personal sign meant only for you. It may appear in a word someone speaks unexpectedly. It may appear in a number repeating over and over. It may appear in a sudden thought that feels warm and familiar. Whatever it is, your spirit will recognize it instantly. And when you see it, you will know heaven is closer to you tonight than it has been in a very long time. Before you move forward, breathe and let this truth settle. You are not just watching a blessing approach, you are walking into it. And if something inside you feels like a quiet stirring, or a soft trembling, or a rising hope you can't explain, hold on to it. Michael says that is the energy shift touching your atmosphere. Stay here with me, because the next part reveals why this blessing was hidden from others and why it chose this Christmas Eve to reach you. Before you scroll, stay with this message. The deeper revelation is about to unfold. Type "I receive the shift" in the comments if this is speaking to your spirit. Blessing code 441 has just been released. Beloved heart, as you step deeper into this message, Archangel Michael draws even nearer, and the atmosphere around you begins to shift in ways your spirit can already sense. He says the rare energy moving toward you this Christmas Eve carries a frequency that only awakened souls can feel. It is like a soft vibration at the edge of your awareness, a quiet pull toward something greater than you have known. And Michael wants you to understand why heaven waited until this exact moment to send it. He reveals that the timing of this blessing is not random. It is synchronized with the turning of a spiritual cycle that opens only once in certain seasons of your life. This is one of those seasons. You are stepping into a corridor of alignment where what was once delayed is now being released with divine precision. Michael says you have been walking with a weight that was never meant to become permanent. You carried burdens that were only meant to teach you, not to define you. You survived situations that were supposed to pull you off your path, yet you stood firm even when you did not feel strong. Heaven saw every moment when you kept going despite the exhaustion pressing into your spirit. And because of this resilience, the rare shift is now seeking you. It is attracted to endurance. It is drawn to sincerity. It recognizes the heart that kept choosing light even when surrounded by shadows. This is why Michael calls you the one who remained faithful in the silent years, the one heaven has decided to lift. But he also reveals something many never understand. Before a blessing appears, a clearing must take place. In the spiritual realm, nothing enters your life without space being made for it. This is why the past few weeks may have felt uncertain or emotionally heavy. You may have experienced unexpected endings, sudden realizations, or a strange sense that something was shifting beneath the surface. Michael says these were not signs of loss. They were signs of preparation. Loose threads were being tied. Hidden drains on your energy were being removed. Patterns that no longer served you were dissolving. The rare shift cannot land in a cluttered atmosphere, so heaven has been sweeping your spirit clean without you even realizing it. Michael shows the image of you standing between two seasons. Behind you is everything that tried to dim your light. Before you is a doorway glowing with quiet brilliance. And he says you are seconds away from stepping through that doorway in a way that will redirect the entire trajectory of your life. But there is something you must understand deeply. This shift is subtle, not loud. It does not arrive with fireworks or dramatic signs. It arrives like a divine whisper, brushing your awareness and nudging your intuition. Most people will overlook it because they are too distracted, too hurried, too disconnected from their inner world. They will miss the blessing because their eyes are focused outward. But you, beloved heart, are watching with the eyes of your spirit. And because of that, the blessing can finally meet you. Michael says you will soon experience a moment of clarity that feels like a veil lifting from your mind. Something you could not understand before will suddenly become clear. A doubt you carried will dissolve. A question you wrestled with will find its answer. This clarity is not just mental. It is spiritual alignment. It is heaven telling you that you are now standing in the correct position for what is coming next. Many ask for blessings but remain misaligned with the frequency required to receive them. You, however, have allowed your soul to soften, to open, to release the weights that were clouding your discernment. This is why the blessing can finally reach you. Michael also says that during this Christmas Eve shift, you may notice a tug toward forgiveness, toward releasing something heavy, toward letting go of a memory that has been pulling you backward. This is not you trying to forget the past. This is heaven lifting the emotional residue that tried to attach itself to your spirit. Michael is clearing the energetic debris around your heart so the blessing has a place to land. You must not fear this release. What leaves you now is meant to leave. What remains is meant to grow. And what arrives next is meant to bless you. There is also a powerful truth Michael wants you to hear. The rare shift carries an anointing of restoration. This means something that was taken, something that was lost, something that slipped through your fingers, is making its way back to you in a higher form. Do not assume restoration means something old returning unchanged. Restoration often means heaven giving you the upgraded version of what you once longed for. This is why certain doors closed. This is why certain people faded from your life. This is why certain dreams were delayed. The old version was too small for the future heaven has designed. And beloved heart, Michael warns that as this shift approaches, your emotions may fluctuate. You may feel moments of unexplained heaviness followed by waves of peace. This is normal. It is your spirit adjusting to the incoming energy. Just breathe through it. The shift is not here to unsettle you. It is here to strengthen you, align you, and prepare you for what is coming. Michael stands guard during this entire transition, ensuring nothing can interfere with the blessing moving your way. And now, take a moment and feel the truth rising within you. Something is moving. Something is aligning. Something is awakening. This Christmas Eve is carrying a message crafted specifically for your soul. And in the final moments of this shift, a sign will appear that confirms everything your spirit already knows. The blessing is not just coming. It is already on its way. Hold on, because what comes next will open a deeper revelation about why you were chosen for this rare moment. Type "I welcome the shift" in the comments if this is touching your spirit. Blessing code 558 has just been released. Dearest soul, as we move deeper into this unfolding revelation, Archangel Michael steps closer with a message that carries weight, authority, and divine urgency. He says you are standing inside a moment of heavenly alignment so precise that even the slightest shift in your awareness can open doors you once believed were sealed. This Christmas Eve is not simply a date on a calendar. It is a spiritual marker, a turning point written into your destiny before you ever entered this world. Heaven has been preparing you for this moment quietly, gently, intentionally, and now Michael says the rare energy approaching you is ready to reveal its true purpose. He whispers that every unanswered prayer, every silent cry, every hidden struggle had been gathered and held in the palms of divine compassion. Nothing you endured was wasted. Nothing you fought through alone went unnoticed in the heavenly realms. Michael shows the image of your heart glowing faintly in the past, flickering under the pressure of disappointment, weariness, and battles that drained your spirit. But tonight, that faint glow is no longer fading. It is strengthening, brightening, preparing to ignite with spiritual clarity. This is the first sign of the shift taking root within you. Michael reveals that this rare energy is not just a blessing. It is a recalibration. It is heaven realigning your path so that everything meant for you can finally reach you without interference. For too long, the blessing circled around you like a bird seeking a place to land, waiting for the atmosphere of your life to become still enough, receptive enough, healed enough to receive it. And now, at last, the conditions are right. He says you have released enough weight, surrendered enough fear, awakened enough awareness for the blessing to anchor itself securely in your life. But here is where the revelation deepens. Michael says someone in your past tried to block this blessing from reaching you. Not through dark intention, but through their own confusion, their own pain, their own unconscious influence on your spirit. Their energy tangled with yours, creating delays you could not understand at the time. You wondered why things felt stuck, why progress felt slow, why moments of hope kept dissolving into uncertainty. Yet through all of this, Michael shielded your spirit from being completely derailed. He kept you tethered to your destiny even when you could not see the road ahead. Now, as the Christmas Eve shift approaches, he says those old entanglements are dissolving completely. The emotional residue that once clung to you is loosening. The spiritual interference that once clouded your perception is fading. The energetic ties that once drained you are breaking. Michael is severing them gently, but powerfully, clearing the pathway for the blessing to reach you without distortion. This is why you may have felt moments of unusual stillness recently, moments where everything seemed to pause. That pause was not an absence, it was a clearing. And now that the clearing is complete, Michael says the blessing is moving toward you like a wave of light. You may feel intuitive nudges, sudden clarity, or unexpected peace settling over you. These sensations are not random. They are confirmation that the rare shift is entering your field. Heaven is not asking you to struggle for it, chase it, or force it. Your only task is to remain open, aware, and receptive. The blessing is attracted to your readiness, not your effort. There is something else Michael reveals. This shift carries a restoration of identity. Somewhere along your journey, you began to see yourself through the lens of disappointment rather than destiny. You forgot the strength within you. You underestimated your spiritual sensitivity. You questioned your worth, your purpose, your calling. But the rare energy coming toward you is designed to restore your true reflection. You will begin to remember who you are, not in the eyes of others, but in the eyes of heaven. This restored identity is the foundation upon which the coming blessing will build. Michael also wants you to pay attention to the subtle signs appearing around you. A phrase someone speaks without knowing why. A number repeating itself throughout your day. An unexpected memory that resurfaces with new meaning. A moment of sudden warmth in your chest. These are not coincidences. These are confirmations that the shift is interacting with your spirit. The blessing is approaching, and the sign at the end of this message will illuminate everything. Before we move forward, Michael gives one final instruction for this moment. Do not dismiss what your intuition reveals tonight. Your spirit will whisper truths that your mind has not yet processed. Listen carefully. Something sacred is arriving. And beloved soul, if you feel even the slightest stirring within you, hold on to it. You are standing in the doorway of a breakthrough that was written for you long before your struggle began. Something powerful is coming next, and you will not want to miss the revelation that follows. If this message is awakening something inside you, make sure to like, comment, and share to keep this word flowing to those who need it. Spread this light, uplift others, and subscribe so you never miss what heaven is releasing through this space. Type "I rise into alignment" in the comments if your spirit feels this shift. Blessing code 903 has now been released. Just as this rare Christmas Eve shift moves toward you, there is another sacred movement happening, one that invites you to stand with the mission, that carries messages like this to souls across the world. The same light that is touching your spirit today is meant to reach thousands more, and your support becomes the seed that carries this light forward. Michael reminds us that when you sow into God's work, you are not helping a channel. You are opening a doorway for heaven to reach hearts that are desperate for hope. This is the river that never runs dry, the oil that multiplies as it pours. I feel led to say this to you directly. If your spirit has been stirred by this message, it is because God is inviting you to take part in the harvest He is raising. When you give through Super Thanks, membership, or the PayPal link in the description, your offering becomes a prophetic act that aligns you with the blessing moving toward you tonight. To every giver, I release a word. May your seed return to you as answered prayers, restored peace, and open doors that no opposition can shut. Step into this moment with faith. Your obedience becomes your breakthrough. Precious soul, as Archangel Michael draws you further into this sacred unfolding, the air around you becomes charged with a quiet but unmistakable intensity. He says you are now entering the core of the rare Christmas Eve energy shift, the very center where divine intention becomes tangible. This is the part most people never reach because they turn away before the deeper revelation arrives. But you have stayed. You have leaned in. And now Michael says heaven can finally reveal what was previously hidden from your understanding. He shows the image of a long, winding path, one you have been walking for years without realizing its significance. To you it looked like struggle, delay, confusion, wandering, but in the spiritual realm it was a journey of alignment. Every heartbreak refined your discernment. Every disappointment sharpened your intuition. Every closed door redirected you toward the true blessing. Nothing was wasted, even when it felt like everything was falling apart. Michael says the rare energy shift coming toward you is the reward for staying faithful through seasons that offered no evidence of progress. Tonight carries a sacred theme: revelation. Something hidden is preparing to rise to the surface of your awareness. Michael whispers that this revelation is not about the world outside you. It is about the world within you. There is a truth about yourself that you have forgotten, a strength you buried, a calling you minimized, a fire you allowed to dim because life pressed too hard on your spirit. But the rare shift is designed to awaken this truth, to reignite the part of you that refuses to settle for anything less than divine purpose. He says the blessing moving toward you as a destination, already chosen, the restored version of you. Not the weary version, not the doubting version, not the version bruised by past experiences. A restored version, a version that remembers, a version that hears, a version that rises, the version heaven has been shaping quietly in the background while your earthly life appeared ordinary. Michael reveals something extraordinary. There is a reason the shift is arriving on Christmas Eve specifically. He says this night carries an ancient spiritual alignment, a moment when light enters the world in a way that touches every dimension of existence. On this night, clarity travels faster, intuition sharpens more easily, and divine messages reach you with fewer obstructions. Heaven knew your heart would be open tonight in a way it hasn't been all year. And so the blessing was scheduled for this sacred moment, when your soul is most receptive, your spirit most awake, your heart most willing to receive what it once feared. Child of light, Michael says the next phase of this blessing involves the removal of one final barrier: self-doubt. He tells me you have battled thoughts that made you question whether you are worthy of the breakthrough you've prayed for. You wondered if you were too late, too flawed, too uncertain to receive something extraordinary. But Michael declares with absolute authority that heaven does not bless perfection. Heaven blesses readiness. And you are ready. Despite your questions, despite your fears, despite the wounds you carry. Your readiness is not measured by confidence. It is measured by willingness. And right now, your spirit is willing. Michael now draws your attention to something subtle but powerful: the emotional sensitivity you have been feeling lately. He says this sensitivity is not a weakness. It is a sign of spiritual attunement. You are sensing shifts before they manifest. You are feeling vibrations of change before the evidence appears. This sensitivity is how the blessing recognizes you. It matches your frequency. It seeks your openness. It moves toward the space your spirit has created for it. Michael says your sensitivity is one of your greatest spiritual gifts, even though you once thought it was a burden. As the rare energy draws nearer, you may feel moments of sudden nostalgia, moments where memories surface unexpectedly. Do not push them away. These memories are rising because they no longer have power over you. They are passing through your awareness for the last time before the shift rewrites the emotional script attached to them. You are being prepared to move into your next season without the shadows of your past weighing down your steps. Michael chose another vision, a door opening in slow motion, revealing a golden light on the other side. He says this door represents the opportunity that has been waiting for the perfect moment. It did not appear before because you would not have recognized it. It waited until your spirit was awakened enough to step through it with courage rather than hesitation. This Christmas Eve shift is the turning of the key, the unlocking of the final seal. What was previously inaccessible is becoming available. And now comes the part Michael urges you not to overlook. In the coming hours, there will be a brief moment when your atmosphere feels unusually calm, almost sacred in its stillness. This moment is not empty. It is the final alignment taking place. The rare energy is positioning itself around you, settling into your field, preparing to deliver the assignment only for you at the end of this message. Do not dismiss this stillness. Do not rush through it. It is the gentle arrival of something heaven has guarded for you for a long time. Stay close to this message, beloved soul. The next revelation opens the doorway to what the Christmas Eve shift is truly preparing you to receive. Type "I align with the light" in the comments if your spirit feels the truth rising within you. Blessing code 744 has just been released. Beloved soul, as the glow of this Christmas Eve shift intensifies around you, Archangel Michael steps forward with a revelation that demands the full attention of your spirit. He says you are entering a moment where the unseen becomes louder than the visible, where the whispers of heaven begin to outweigh the noise of the world. This is the threshold where destinies are redirected and old patterns lose their authority. And Michael says you have reached this threshold not by accident, not by chance, but by divine orchestration. He shows the vision of a candle burning in a darkened room. For a long time, it flickered as if it might extinguish under the weight of everything you endured. You questioned whether your strength was enough, whether your hope could survive the battles you didn't ask for, whether your heart could continue carrying both pain and faith at the same time. But Michael reveals that what you thought was flickering was actually refining. Every tremble in that flame with the breaking of an old limitation. Every moment of dimness with a shedding of emotional heaviness. The light within you is not weakened. It has evolved. Now heaven is responding to that evolution. Michael says the rare shift approaching you is coming with a force that recognizes your newly strengthened spirit. It is not arriving to rescue you. It is arriving to partner with you. This is a spiritual collaboration where heaven meets your willingness with divine empowerment. You have cried for breakthrough, but now the breakthrough sees you. It is drawn to the maturity your soul has developed through pain, patience, and perseverance. The blessing you once begged for has finally found a landing place within your spirit. Michael now draws your attention to a deeper truth. He says the energy surrounding your life has been recalibrating quietly for months. You may have felt moments when your emotions seemed unpredictable, when certain people suddenly seemed distant, when opportunities felt strangely off, or when you sensed a pull inward that you could not explain. These were not random experiences. These were indicators that something was shifting beneath the surface. The old energetic systems of your life were dismantling, making room for a higher frequency of blessing. He explains that before the rare Christmas Eve shift can fully integrate with your path, your spirit must release the last traces of internal resistance. This resistance is subtle. Old doubts, unspoken fears, unresolved memories. Not because you are unwilling, but because you learned to survive by guarding yourself. Yet now, heaven is asking you to open the gates of your inner world. The blessing cannot be received from behind emotional armor. Michael says this moment calls for vulnerability, spiritual softness, and deep trust. Then he reveals something unexpected. The blessing coming toward you does not bring answers. It brings direction. Answers inform the mind, but direction anchors the soul. Heaven is not interested in giving you explanations for every hardship you endured. Heaven is interested in positioning you for what comes next. And Michael says the next chapter of your life requires movement. Movement away from old hesitations, old self-perceptions, and old limitations that no longer reflect who you have become. Michael shows another vision, a path made of light unfolding before you step by step. He says this path will not reveal itself all at once. Instead, each step will illuminate only when you are ready to take it. This is why the rare shift is crucial. It awakens the inner certainty you need to walk forward even when the road is not fully clear. Your intuition will sharpen. Your inner voice will strengthen. Your discernment will heighten. You will begin to feel guided in moments where you once felt lost. And beloved, Michael brings your attention to something powerful. The shift is molding your future relationships. He says the blessing will draw the right people toward you and distance the wrong ones without strain or conflict. A divine rearrangement is taking place. Certain connections will deepen, others will quietly fade, and new souls aligned with your evolving purpose will enter your life. Do not cling to what heaven is releasing. Do not fear what heaven is adding. Everything is being orchestrated to support your rise. But here is the part your spirit must not miss. Michael says the Christmas Eve shift carries a specific moment, a flash of inner awakening. For some, it will appear as sudden peace breaking through anxiety. For others, it will be a sudden insight that explains months of confusion. For some, it may feel like warmth rising through the chest, as if your spirit is remembering something ancient and familiar. Whatever form it takes, you will know when it arrives. Your soul will recognize this moment as the divine signature of the blessing. Michael urges you, hold steady when this moment comes. Do not dismiss it. Do not second-guess it. This awakening is the breath before the breakthrough, the quiet confirmation that heaven has moved into position around your life. It is the spiritual signal that everything you have sensed, everything you have felt, everything that has been stirring inside you is real. The revelation ahead is even deeper, even sharper, even more personal. The shift is preparing to reveal why your journey had to unfold exactly the way it did. Wait for what comes next, beloved soul. This is where the mystery begins to make sense. Type "My spirit is ready" in the comments if you feel the truth rising in you. Blessing code 622 has now been released. Beloved soul, as you step into this next layer of the Christmas Eve revelation, Archangel Michael approaches with a depth of seriousness that causes the atmosphere around your spirit to still itself. He says you have reached the point in this journey where heaven begins unveiling truths you were not ready to hear before. These truths are not meant to burden you. They are meant to free you. They are meant to release the final constraints that have kept you from stepping into the full expression of who you were always meant to become. Michael says this rare shift is not simply about blessing. It is about unveiling. It is about revealing what was hidden in plain sight. He shows a vision of you standing before a mirror, yet the reflection is not the version of you the world sees. Instead, it is the version heaven has always known. Stronger, wiser, more luminous, more capable. This reflection carries a power that your earthly self has often struggled to recognize. And Michael whispers that the rare shift is meant to bring these two versions of you into alignment so that who you are internally begins matching what your destiny requires externally. The blessing cannot land on a fractured identity. The blessing rests only where there is agreement between the soul and the purpose it was created for. He says the world trained you to think small, to doubt your worth, to shrink your light so others would feel more comfortable. But heaven has never asked this of you. Heaven asked you to rise. Heaven asked you to walk in truth. Heaven asked you to step into the identity that carries the authority of your calling. The rare Christmas Eve energy is coming to dissolve the final layer of diminishment that has kept you from owning your power. Michael explains something profound. The reason the blessing was delayed was not because heaven forgot you, but because you were evolving into the person who could hold it responsibly. If the blessing had come too early, it would have overwhelmed you or slipped through your hands. You needed to outgrow the version of yourself that depended on others for validation. You needed to learn discernment so you could protect what heaven gives you. You needed to experience certain losses so that when the blessing arrives, you would value it, nurture it, and guard it with spiritual wisdom. He reveals another truth, one many avoid facing. There was someone in your journey who unintentionally convinced you to dim your spiritual sensitivity. They did not understand the depth of your inner knowing. They dismissed your intuition, questioned your feelings, or made you believe that your spiritual experiences were exaggerated or unrealistic. Over time, you learned to silence yourself. You learned to second-guess what your spirit already knew. But Michael says this rare shift is breaking the echo of their influence. You will no longer hear their doubt in your mind. You will no longer feel their shadow over your decisions. Heaven is restoring the voice within you that was always meant to be your compass. Michael shows another vision, this time of a gate opening slowly. Beyond the gate is a field filled with light, but the light is not blinding, it is warm, familiar, inviting. This field represents your next season. He says the reason this gate is opening now is because your spirit is finally strong enough to step into a season that requires courage, clarity, and alignment. The blessing waiting behind this gate is not simply a gift, it is a responsibility. It is a calling. It is a divine assignment. And heaven trusts you with it. But before you step through entirely, there is one more revelation Michael insists you must hear. He says the rare Christmas Eve shift carries a moment of truth, one that may stir you deeply. This truth concerns a cycle you have been unknowingly repeating for years. A cycle of giving too much, trusting too quickly, staying too long, or carrying emotional burdens that were not yours to carry. This cycle has shaped your relationships, your choices, your energy, and even your self-worth. The shift is coming to break that cycle permanently, not by force but by awakening. Once you see the truth, you cannot unsee it. Once you recognize the pattern, you cannot return to it. And once the cycle breaks, the blessing can finally anchor itself in stability rather than turbulence. Michael says this truth may come to you in a sudden realization, in a quiet moment of reflection, or in something someone unconsciously says. When it arrives, you will feel a release, almost like an internal exhale. Your spirit will recognize that the final chain has fallen away. This release is required, because the blessing entering your life must not land in a place still tethered to old wounds. Beloved soul, there is something else Michael reveals gently, yet firmly. The shift is preparing your heart for a new chapter that will require genuine emotional and spiritual capacity. You will no longer carry people who refuse to carry themselves. You will no longer shrink to fit places where your spirit does not belong. You will no longer apologize for the depth of your intuition or the sensitivity of your heart. Instead, you will rise in alignment with heaven's purpose and heaven's timing. And as this shift moves closer, Michael says you may feel a strange but peaceful anticipation, as if something within you already knows that life is about to open in a direction you have not experienced before. Trust this feeling. It is not fear. It is recognition. Your soul senses the approach of what it has been praying for. Stay with this message, beloved. The next part carries one of the most personal revelations Michael has prepared for you. Type "I break the OLD cycle" in the comments if your spirit feels this truth. Blessing code 811 has now been released. Beloved soul, as Archangel Michael guides you deeper into this unfolding Christmas Eve mystery, the spiritual atmosphere around you begins to thicken with meaning. He says you are now approaching the heart of the rare shift, the moment where heaven begins to reveal not only what is coming toward you, but why it chose you specifically. This is the portion of the message reserved only for those whose spirits are awake enough to receive it. And Michael says your presence here proves that you are among the few. He shows a vision of you walking along a path surrounded by shadows. At times it felt like you were walking alone, unseen, unheard, misunderstood. But what you could not see was the legion of light walking beside you, with Archangel Michael at the forefront. Every time you felt abandoned, you were actually being shielded. Every time you felt overlooked, heaven was setting you apart. Every time you felt delayed, divine timing was aligning your steps with precision. You thought you were wandering, but Michael says you were being escorted. The night shift is a culmination of all those unseen protections. Heaven has been preparing you quietly for a breakthrough that could not come too early. Otherwise it would have been mishandled by the people you once trusted, or misunderstood by the version of you that had not yet grown into your spiritual strength. Michael says the delay was not punishment, it was preservation. You were being preserved for something greater than what your past could have offered you. This rare energy coming toward you is not merely a blessing. It is a spiritual recalibration that will alter the very structure of your inner world. It will awaken dormant gifts, sharpen intuitive senses, and activate a level of clarity you have not accessed before. Michael says that once this shift settles into your atmosphere, you will begin to notice patterns you once tolerated falling away effortlessly. Old habits that kept you stuck will lose their grip. Thoughts that once drained your spirit will no longer find attachment. Your soul is shedding layers that were never meant to stay. He reveals something profound. The shift carries a message embedded within it, a message your heart has been waiting to hear for a long time. This message is simple yet transformative. It was never your fault. Michael says you must hear this deeply, not with your mind but with your spirit. You carried guilt for things you did not cause. You blamed yourself for outcomes you could not control. You held yourself responsible for the emotional storms of others. You believed that if you had been better, stronger, or more patient, the people around you would have acted differently. But Michael says heaven has watched your heart, and your heart has always been pure. You were not flawed, you were faithful. You were not weak, you were willing. You were not lost, you were being led. And now the rare shift is arriving to lift the burden of false responsibility from your spirit. You are being released from the emotional weight of stories that were never yours to carry. Michael shows another vision, a veil lifting from your eyes, revealing a path that was hidden by grief, disappointment, or confusion. He says this is the path you were always meant to walk, but you could not see it until you outgrew the situations that once clouded your vision. This is why certain connections dissolved suddenly, why certain plans fell apart abruptly, why certain opportunities slipped away. These were divine reroutings, not rejections. Heaven was guiding you toward the alignment necessary for this Christmas Eve shift to enter your life without resistance. And now comes a revelation Michael says your heart has been prepared to receive. The rare energy approaching you carries the frequency of restoration. Not restoration of the old, but restoration of what your soul was always meant to experience. This means the blessing will come in a form that may surprise you. It may arrive as a new direction, a new relationship, a new opportunity, a new level of inner authority. Michael emphasizes that the restoration coming is not a return to what was lost. It is the arrival of what is meant. You will soon find yourself responding to life differently. Where you once hesitated, you will step forward with confidence. Where you once questioned your intuition, you will trust it without fear. Where you once settled for less, you will now expect alignment. This is not arrogance, it is spiritual maturity. The shift is rewriting the internal codes that governed your self-worth, dismantling the old agreements you made with doubt, fear, and limitation. Heaven is installing a new identity within you, one rooted in clarity, truth, and divine authority. Michael says the sign at the end of this message will be the final confirmation of everything unfolding here. But before that sign appears, you must understand one last truth for this moment. The blessing approaching your life requires space. Emotional space, mental space, spiritual space. That is why you may have been sensing a desire to withdraw from noise, to rest more, to reflect, to detach from drama, to choose peace. This desire is not lack of motivation. This is preparation. Your spirit knows the blessing needs room. And beloved soul, if you have been feeling an unexplained calm, even in the midst of uncertainty, that calm is not emptiness, it is readiness. It is your heart preparing to receive what it has been requesting for years. Stay close, for the next revelation will bring you face to face with the deeper purpose behind everything heaven has been orchestrating in your life. Type "I am ready to receive" in the comments if your spirit feels this truth. Blessing code 655 has now been released. Beloved soul, as you step into this next dimension of the Christmas Eve revelation, Archangel Michael moves closer with a presence so steady, so grounded, that your spirit cannot help but lean in. He says you have now reached the part of the journey where heaven begins to reveal what this rare shift is preparing to give you, and what it is preparing to remove from your path once and for all. This is the moment when the spiritual atmosphere becomes undeniably personal. Nothing about what you are hearing is general or accidental. Michael says this message has been tailored around your journey, your wounds, your resilience, and your calling. He shows the image of a tree standing in winter, silent, bare, seemingly dormant. Yet beneath the cold surface, the roots are deepening, strengthening, absorbing everything they need to produce a greater season of growth. Michael says this tree is you. You have endured seasons that looked empty on the outside but were filled with internal transformation. Even when you thought nothing was happening, heaven was preparing the roots of your destiny. He whispers that the rare Christmas Eve shift is the spiritual signal that your winter is ending and your awakening is beginning. Michael then reveals a truth many overlook. Blessings often arrive in moments that look ordinary. This shift will not come with dramatic signs in the sky. It will come in the gentleness of alignment, in the quiet strength rising in your heart, in the sudden clarity that replaces confusion, in the peace that settles where anxiety once lived. He says only awakened hearts notice when heaven moves subtly, which is why this message found you at exactly the right moment. Your spirit has matured to a level where you can recognize divine movement even when the world around you looks unchanged. There is a revelation Michael presses urgently into this moment. He says there has been a heaviness sitting in your atmosphere, something you stopped questioning because it became too familiar. Perhaps it was an old fear, an old memory, an old belief about yourself, or a lingering emotional weight caused by someone who once held influence over your spirit. This heaviness did not come from darkness, it came from exhaustion. You have carried burdens for so long that you began to assume they were simply part of who you are. But Michael says the rare shift is coming to lift this weight permanently. A spiritual exhale is approaching. You will feel it in a moment when something inside you simply lets go, when an old fear loses its bite, when an old attachment loses its pull, when an old narrative loses its authority over your identity. This release is not something you must force. It will happen naturally, gracefully, because the energy that held those burdens in place is dissolving. Michael says the blessing cannot land on a heart that is still carrying the emotional residue of battles that are already over. This shift ensures you do not miss what heaven has prepared for you simply because you were still holding on to what heaven already closed. He now brings forth another profound revelation. The rare shift is activating divine timing in your life. You have experienced what felt like long stretches of waiting, uncertainty, and stagnation. But Michael says those were not wasted seasons. They were calibration. You were being aligned with the right opportunities, the right connections, the right spiritual maturity, and the right emotional readiness. Now, because your spirit is aligned, divine timing can accelerate. Doors will open with less effort. Paths will clear with less resistance. What once felt delay will begin to flow. Michael emphasizes that the shift carries a breakthrough that touches both your inner world and your outer world. Internally, your confidence will rise, not shallow confidence, but spiritual confidence rooted in truth, clarity, and self-recognition. Externally, you may notice new opportunities, renewed connections, unexpected blessings, or sudden forward movement in areas that once felt stuck. He says the rare shift is essentially heaven placing its hand upon your life and saying, "Now." But there is something even deeper Michael needs you to understand. You are entering a season where your intuition will lead you more than logic. This is not foolishness. This is spiritual maturity. Logic explains what is known. Intuition reveals what is coming. And this shift is awakening the part of you that hears heaven clearly, even in silence. You will begin sensing when something is right without needing external confirmation. You will recognize when something is wrong even before red flags appear. This intuitive awakening is part of the blessing. It protects your path as it unfolds. Michael then shows a vision of light pouring downward like a gentle waterfall, covering you from head to spirit. He says this light is cleansing the energy around your mind, your emotions, and your future. It is washing away exhaustion, discouragement, disillusionment, and the subtle spiritual dust that accumulated from years of carrying more than your soul was meant to bear. This cleansing is not symbolic, it is active. You may feel waves of clarity, moments of emotion, or unexpected calm as this light continues its work in you. And now, beloved soul, Michael presses one final truth into your heart for this moment. You are being prepared to receive something that once felt impossible. A blessing that aligns so deeply with who you truly are that it will feel familiar the moment it arrives. Heaven has not forgotten your prayers. Heaven has not ignored your tears. The rare shift is proof that the answer has been on its way longer than you realized. Stay right here, because what unfolds next will open the doorway to the sign promised to you at the end of this message. Before you move further, if this message is stirring something inside you, make sure to like, share, comment, and subscribe. Let this word travel to every soul who needs to witness the shift taking place tonight. Type "I receive this light" in the comments if your spirit feels the awakening. Blessing code 1004 has now been released. As this rare Christmas Eve light flows toward you, I feel led to share something deeply connected to this moment. Michael says that when a soul receives a shift of this magnitude, they also become a vessel for others who are still searching for hope. This channel is one of the rivers heaven uses to reach those souls. When you sow into this work through Super Thanks membership, with a PayPal link in the description, you are not helping a platform. You are helping carry heaven's voice into places where darkness has been lingering too long. I speak this to you from a place of obedience. Your seed becomes a spiritual torch, lighting the path for someone else's breakthrough. And as you give, may the same light that is moving toward you return as restoration, increase, and divine favor. Step forward boldly. Your offering is a prophetic act that aligns you with the very shift heaven is releasing over you tonight. Beloved soul, as Archangel Michael guides you into this next chamber of the Christmas Eve revelation, the atmosphere around your spirit deepens with a quiet intensity. He says you are now approaching the moment where the rare shift begins to interact directly with your destiny. Up until now, the energy had been preparing you, cleansing you, realigning you. But this part marks the beginning of activation. The shift is no longer approaching. It is entering your field. You may not see it with your eyes, but your soul has already begun to recognize its arrival. Michael reveals a vision of a glowing line running through time, stretching behind you and ahead of you. He says this line represents the divine continuity of your journey. Every moment of your life has been quietly woven into this line, even the ones that seemed meaningless or painful. What felt random was actually strategic. What felt like wandering was part of divine architecture. Heaven has been constructing a timeline around your purpose, making sure you would arrive at this exact moment of awakening with the right heart, the right clarity, and the right spiritual strength. The rare Christmas Eve shift is now knitting together the fragmented pieces of your past, giving you perspective that once felt unreachable. Michael says the blessing you are about to receive does not rest on isolated moments. It rests on the entirety of your becoming. You endured storms to develop discernment. You wanted through uncertainty to learn trust. You survived heartbreak to awaken compassion. You faced setbacks to strengthen resilience. And now, all of these qualities form the spiritual foundation upon which the coming blessing will stand. Michael says you have underestimated your own transformation. You think you are simply recovering or rebuilding, but heaven sees something far deeper happening within you. You are ascending. Your spirit is stepping into a higher frequency of awareness, one that allows you to perceive opportunities, relationships, and divine instructions with clarity that was not available to you before. This shift is elevating not only your circumstances, but your spiritual identity. Here is a truth Michael wants to reveal tenderly yet boldly. He says the reason you have been sensing emotional fluctuations, moments of peace followed by sudden heaviness, moments of clarity followed by brief confusion, is because your spirit is adjusting to the incoming frequency. You are shedding energies that cannot cross into your next season. The heaviness is not returning, it is releasing. The confusion is not a setback, it is the dissolving of old mental patterns. Your emotions are recalibrating because your spirit is rising. Michael shows another vision, a hand reaching toward you from the realm of light. This hand is not pulling you forward, it is lifting you upward. Heaven is not merely opening a door for you, it is elevating you so you can walk through doors once too high to reach. This elevation is subtle but powerful. You may notice yourself responding differently to situations that once troubled you. You may feel a new confidence settling quietly within you. You may find it easier to articulate your needs, set boundaries, or express truth without fear. This is not personality change, it is spiritual expansion. Now Michael moves into a deeper revelation. He says the rare shift carries within it a divine reversal. Something that once worked against you will begin working in your favor. A situation that once drained you will now empower you. A loss that once broke your heart will become a spiritual reference point of strength. Reversal is the fingerprint of this blessing. Heaven is turning something in your life from burden to blessing, from confusion to clarity, from waiting to fulfillment. Michael says you will soon recognize this reversal in a moment that feels almost surreal. You may receive unexpected news. You may gain insight that changes everything. You may see a door open suddenly. You may feel a release from a long-standing emotional struggle. The shift is not theoretical, it is real. And it is already touching the edges of your life. He urges you to listen closely now. A blessing cannot be missed, but it can be misunderstood if you judge it too quickly. It may not look like what you expected, but it will feel like what you prayed for. Michael emphasizes that the heart is the true compass for this blessing. Ignore the noise. Ignore the doubts. Ignore the old narratives that try to pull you backward. Listen to the quiet knowing rising within you. That knowing is heaven's voice inside your spirit. Michael brings your attention to one final truth for this moment. He says the rare shift is not only bringing you into alignment, it is bringing the right people into your future. Souls who match your new frequency. Souls who speak truth. Souls who encourage growth. Souls who carry light. The next season of your life will not be walked alone. Heaven is orchestrating divine connections that will support your purpose and protect your peace. Beloved soul, something powerful is opening before you. The next part of this message carries a revelation so personal and so specific that it will illuminate the sign promised at the very end. Stay with this journey. Your spirit is closer to breakthrough than you realize. Type I am lifting with this shift in the comments if your soul feels this truth awakening within you. Blessing code 717 has now been released. Beloved soul, as Archangel Michael draws you further into this sacred unfolding, he steps forward with a revelation that carries the weight of divine timing. He says you have now crossed the threshold where the rare Christmas Eve shift is not only entering your atmosphere, but touching the deepest part of your identity. This is where the transformation becomes personal, undeniable, and irreversible. The shift has moved from circling around your life to intertwining with your spirit, reconfiguring the energy within you so you can receive what has been waiting for you in the unseen. Michael shows a vision of you standing in a quiet field at night. The sky is dark, but above you a single star begins to shine brighter, steadier, more intentionally than the others. He says this star represents guidance that was always present, even when you could not perceive it. The rare shift is making this guidance clear. For years, you walked through seasons where you felt directionless, as if the path ahead was wrapped in fog. But Michael whispers that heaven never left you wandering. The guidance was there all along. You simply needed a spiritual elevation to recognize it. This Christmas Eve shift is the elevation. Michael now reveals a truth you may have sensed but never fully understood. You have outgrown the environments, beliefs, and emotional patterns that once shaped you. You are no longer the same soul who carried wounds like burdened armor. You are no longer the same spirit who questioned their worth through the lens of past experiences. You are no longer the same heart that accepted less because you feared loss. The shift that is entering your life is helping you release the final remnants of old identities so the fullness of your new one can rise. He says there is a moment approaching, a moment of realization so profound that it will feel like a spiritual awakening within an awakening. The moment when your soul says, I recognize myself again. This recognition is not about who you were before the hardships. It is about who you have become because of them. Zroger. Zovder. Wiser. Yarber. More intuitive. More aligned. more discerning. Heaven has shaped you into someone capable of carrying blessings that once would have overwhelmed you. Michael reveals something deeply personal now. He says a part of you has been carrying a hidden fear that if a blessing finally arrives, it might disappear. Fear that good things do not stay. Fear that joy has an expiration date. Fear that breakthrough will slip away the moment you begin to trust it. This fear is not weakness. It is a scar from seasons where you were forced to hold yourself together when everything around you was falling apart. But the rare shift is entering your spirit to dissolve this fear at its root. Not by force, but by revelation. Michael says heaven is giving you something this time that cannot be stolen, sabotaged, or shaken. This blessing is protected, sealed, and assigned to your destiny. It does not depend on the approval of others. It does not rely on circumstances. It arrives because your spirit is aligned with its frequency, and alignment is stronger than resistance. You no longer have to fear losing what heaven is giving you. What comes next is not fragile. It is fortified. He then shows another vision, two paths diverging in front of you. One path represents the patterns you have known, familiar, predictable, yet limiting. The other path represents the unknown, vast, open, glowing with possibility. For years, the familiar path pulled you back because it felt safer. But now the unfamiliar path feels strangely peaceful, even inviting. Michael says this is because the shift is rewriting your spiritual instincts. You are no longer drawn toward what is predictable. You are being pulled toward what is aligned. This is a sign of divine readiness. He urges you to notice something important. The shift is amplifying your inner voice. Not the voice of fear or doubt, but the voice of truth that has been whispering beneath the noise for years. This voice will become louder, clearer, impossible to ignore. You will feel guided in ways that do not make sense to the mind but resonate deeply with the heart. You will know when to move, when to pause, when to release, when to embrace. You will no longer be confused about what belongs in your life and what does not. The shift is sharpening your spiritual compass. Michael reveals a profound truth. Now, a truth that ties together everything you have walked through. He says the battles you faced were not signs of abandonment. They were signs of preparation. You had to walk through resistance so you could carry resilience. You had to feel lost so you could develop discernment. You had to confront endings so you could recognize divine beginnings. Heaven was not punishing you. Heaven was refining you. And now the refinement is complete. He says the rare shift is ushering you into a season of divine confirmation. You will begin to receive signs that are too aligned to ignore, too consistent to dismiss. They will appear in moments of stillness, in words spoken around you, in dreams that feel vivid, in intuitive sensations that carry truth. These signs are heaven's way of saying, "We are with you. Move forward." Beloved soul, the next chapter of this message carries a revelation that will prepare you for the sign promised at the end. You are closer now than you have ever been. Stay with this journey. The breakthrough is approaching with sacred precision. Type "My spirit is awakening" in the comments if you feel this truth stirring within you. Blessing code 122 has now been released. Beloved soul, as Archangel Michael leads you into this next sacred chamber of the Christmas Eve revelation, his presence becomes even more focused, almost solemn, as if the message he carries rests at the very heart of heaven's intentions for you. He says you are now approaching the moment where the rare shift begins turning into manifestation. This part is not just revelation. It is activation. What was once only sensed in your spirit is preparing to touch your physical reality. Michael shows a vision of a large door made of radiant light. It has been before you for years, sometimes faint, sometimes clear, but always out of reach. He says the reason you could not open it earlier was not because heaven withheld it, but because you did not yet carry the spiritual authority to walk through it. That authority is not earned by perfection, but by perseverance. It is cultivated through the battles of the soul, the nights of surrender, the tears of endurance, the decisions to rise again. And now, because you have risen time after time, the door is unlocking. He brings your attention to a truth that may shake you gently. Your past battles were never signs of divine distance. They were sacred training grounds, sharpening your discernment until you could carry the weight of what is coming next. He says that every trial that threatened to break you was actually activating a deeper layer of spiritual authority within you. You have been strengthened in places that others cannot see. You have been stretched in ways that will now serve your future. And the shift entering your life is responding not to who you were, but to who you have become. Michael reveals that the rare energy surrounding you right now is doing something incredibly specific. It is aligning your inner world with the frequency of your destiny. You may notice your thoughts becoming clearer, your emotions less reactive, your intuition sharper, your spirit steadier. These are not random improvements. They are indicators of integration. The shift is merging with your identity, dissolving old distortions, and restoring spiritual clarity. You are beginning to see yourself the way heaven sees you. He says that one of the biggest transformations occurring within you is the restoration of your inner voice. For years, the noise of doubt, fear, and outside influence diluted your ability to trust your own knowing. But the shift is recalibrating that inner guidance system. Soon, you will speak truth without trembling. You will make decisions without hesitation. You will sense misalignment before it enters your life. You will recognize divine timing with greater ease. Your inner voice will become a powerful compass, pointing you toward the path heaven designed for you. Michael then reveals something extraordinary. The rare shift is awakening a spiritual gift within you that has been dormant or underdeveloped. This gift may come through intuition, through discernment, through dreams, through a sudden perception of energy, through heightened sensitivity to truth, or through an inner pull toward a calling you once pushed aside. He says the awakening of this gift is not accidental. It is part of your purpose. This gift will guide you, protect you, and elevate you in the season ahead. Do not fear it. Do not ignore it. It is heaven's instrument placed within you. He brings forward another vision, a bright path illuminated ahead, but with certain obstacles fading away like mist touched by sunlight. Michael says these obstacles represent burdens, fears, attachments, or patterns that once seemed immovable. The shift is dissolving them, not by force but by elevation. When you rise, certain things lose their hold simply because they no longer match your frequency. You are not breaking free by effort. You are breaking free by ascension. And the freeing you are experiencing is permanent. Michael speaks with gentleness now as he reveals something deeply personal. There is a blessing heaven withheld until your heart was mature enough to receive it without losing yourself. He says this blessing was too powerful to be placed in your hands while old wounds still shaped your choices. But now, your healed self, your awakened self, your aligned self is prepared to hold what once would have overwhelmed you. This blessing is not just an answer. It is a destiny marker. It will shift your trajectory, elevate your environment, and anchor your purpose. He cautions you about something important. As the shift continues integrating with your spirit, you will begin noticing a change in what you tolerate. Situations that once drained you will no longer interest you. People who once distracted you will lose their influence. Patterns that once trapped you will no longer appeal. This is not you becoming distant. This is you becoming aligned. Your soul is refusing to return to what heaven has already elevated you beyond. Michael offers one final revelation for this moment, one that prepares you for the sign promised at the end of this message. He says the rare Christmas Eve shift is not only bringing clarity, it is bringing confirmation. You will soon experience a moment so aligned, so undeniably guided, that it will feel like heaven itself reached into your life. It may appear as an unexpected message, a divine encounter, a sudden opportunity, a dream with unusual clarity, or a wave of peace arriving without explanation. When it happens, you will know. Your soul will recognize it instantly. Beloved soul, you are standing on the edge of something sacred. What comes next is the unveiling of the sign meant only for you. Type "I am prepared for the sign" in the comments if you feel your spirit awakening to this truth. Blessing code 1331 has now been released. Beloved soul, as Archangel Michael steps into this final chamber of the Christmas Eve revelation, the air around your spirit shifts into a stillness that feels almost holy. He says you have reached the point where the rare energy that has been approaching you is now fully present, fully awakened, fully aligned with your destiny. This is not the beginning of the blessing. This is the moment the blessing recognizes you. Michael stands beside you, his presence strong yet gentle, and he whispers that what happens next will mark your life in a way you will never forget. He shows a vision of you standing before a radiant horizon. The light is not behind you nor above you. It is rising directly from your path. This is the sign that a new season is no longer approaching. It is unfolding beneath your very feet. Michael says this light represents a shift in your identity, your direction, your opportunities, your spiritual sensitivity, and even the atmosphere surrounding your everyday life. You are stepping into a chapter that was written for you long before your struggles began. He reveals a truth that heaven has waited until now to share. You were never walking toward this blessing. The blessing was always walking toward you. Every delay, every disappointment, every redirection, every tear was simply aligning the timing so that when this shift arrived, it would arrive in a form you could hold, nurture, and rise with. You have not missed anything. You have not fallen behind. You have not been disqualified. The rare shift does not visit those who are lost, it visits those who were chosen. Michael says the sign you've been prepared to receive is not a random symbol, not a coincidence, not a fleeting moment. It is a divine indicator crafted specifically for your spirit. It will appear in a way that feels strangely familiar, almost as if heaven is reminding you of something you once knew but forgot through the hardships of life. This sign will validate your intuition. It will confirm the prayers you thought were unheard. It will align with a truth you have sensed but never fully trusted. He says the sign will arrive when you are in a moment of quiet awareness, perhaps while reflecting, perhaps while moving through your day, perhaps while simply breathing in the stillness of this sacred season. You will not have to search for it. You will not have to force it. The sign will find you because heaven has already marked your spirit as its destination. Michael then shows another vision, a seed buried in the soil, finally breaking open. Not because it was pushed, but because its time had come. He says you are that seed. Your breaking was not destruction, it was transformation. What you thought was the end of you was actually the beginning of your emergence. The shift is not creating something new out of nothing. It is awakening what have been waiting within you for years. He speaks gently now, addressing a part of you that has been quiet yet trembling, the fear that the blessing will pass you by. He says the fear came from past experiences where you felt overlooked, unheard, or unseen. But the shift entering your life tonight is intentional, targeted, and heaven-sealed. What is coming cannot pass you by because it was assigned to your spirit long before you faced the battles that shaped you. You are not hoping for the blessing. You are aligned with it. Michael adds that with this shift comes a new level of spiritual authority. You will notice yourself speaking differently, thinking differently, choosing differently. You will no longer shrink in the presence of uncertainty. You will no longer settle in the presence of misalignment. You will no longer silence your intuition to maintain peace that was never yours to carry. This authority is not loud. It is rooted, calm, steady, unshakable. Heaven is no longer preparing you. Heaven is positioning you. And now Michael reveals something profound. This shift will bring closure to a chapter you carried longer than necessary. Not by force, but by release. You will wake up one day realizing that a burden you once battled no longer has a hold on you. You will feel lighter without understanding the exact moment the weight lifted. This is the work of the shift, gentle, precise, complete. The sign you are waiting for will appear when your spirit is ready to receive it. It may come as a dream that feels more real than memory. It may come as a sentence spoken at the perfect time. It may come as a number repeating in patterns too aligned to ignore. It may come as a sudden inner knowing that settles in your heart like peace after a storm. Whatever form it takes, Michael says you will recognize it instantly. It will feel like heaven touching earth. And beloved soul, when you receive that sign, something else will awaken, a sense of direction so clear, so anchored, that you will no longer question what is meant for you. You will rise with confidence not born from ego but from divine recognition. You will walk forward because the path will no longer feel like guesswork. It will feel like memory, as if you've always been meant to walk it. Michael stands before you now and says, with unwavering certainty, that this Christmas Eve marks the beginning of a spiritual expansion you will look back on for the rest of your life. You are stepping into a season where heaven communicates more clearly, where your intuition leads more strongly, where your blessings unfold more intentionally. The rare shift is not just coming, it is here. If this message is stirring something deep within you, or if you feel the atmosphere around you changing as you listen, make sure to like, comment, share, and subscribe so this light reaches every soul who is meant to rise with it. Type "I receive my sign" in the comments if your spirit is ready. Blessing Code 2024 has now been released. As you stand on the edge of this divine sign, Archangel Michael reminds you that when a soul steps into alignment with heaven's timing, they also become a vessel for others who are still searching in the dark. The same light that is touching your life tonight is meant to reach thousands more, and this mission continues only through those who feel called to uplift it. I speak this with the same sacred urgency Michael carries. Your support through Super Thanks membership, with the PayPal link in the description, is not just giving. It is sowing into a movement that leads souls back to God's voice. When you give, you activate a prophetic flow over your own life, because heaven never allows generosity to return empty. I bless every supporter with clarity, open doors, and accelerated breakthrough. Step into this moment boldly. Your seed becomes a divine partnership with the very shift heaven has released over you this Christmas Eve.